European and American taverns were a center for meeting, playing, and drinking. They were often one of the first businesses in a new settlement. Before Geneva was officially a village in 1796, Elark Jennings, which is the correct spelling, had a tavern on modern South Exchange Street near the recreation complex. In 1791, Dr. Alexander Coventry moved to Geneva but wasn't impressed with Geneva's taverns. He wrote, "On the south side of Geneva, one Ezra Patterson keeps tavern. There assembled a considerable number of men here, and they seemed a lazy, drinking, debauched set. Most had ruffled shirts. They were chiefly Pennsylvanians, Irish, and Scots. In the 1700s and 1800s, everyone drank fermented beverages like beer or hard cider. The bacteria in water could kill you, but alcohol killed the bacteria. So brewing was important and was done by professionals and amateurs alike. Before 1796, Walter Grieve and John Moffat started a brewery in Geneva, the first one west of Seneca Lake. You can see a reconstruction of the brew house at Genesee Country Village and Museum in Mumford, New York. The museum demonstrates early brewing and sells Fat Ox Ale, which is made off-site, using one of Grieve's recipes. There weren't many early breweries in Geneva. The population was small, and everyone knew how to make beer. This recipe is from a small notebook on how to make beer, whiskey, gin, Madeira wine, and other beverages. Newspapers printed recipes for beer. As shown here, you could make beer from anything with a high sugar content. In 1865, James Alexander opened a brewery on Lake Street. Family ale, made expressly for family use, may have meant it had less alcohol. Malting was big business in the late 1800s. Area farmers sold thousands of bushels of barley to several malt houses. Barley was soaked in water to germinate, then dried with hot air. This process converted starch into sugar for fermenting. Samuel K. Nestor's malt house was one of the largest in New York State. His malt was shipped to brewers in New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. By the early 1900s, local breweries were replaced by regional companies that could bottle and distribute in large quantities. Congress beer was made in Syracuse and advertised in the Geneva newspapers. From 1908 to 1914, Geneva Brewing Company was just east of the city between the Lake Road and railroad tracks. It was owned and managed by a group not from Geneva. Most of the business was destroyed by a fire in 1914, and one of the managers was charged with arson. That was the end of commercial brewing in Geneva before Prohibition began in 1920. Prohibition, lasting from 1920 to 1933, sparked a revival in local and home brewing, albeit illegally. This beer was evidence from a raid being taken to City Hall. Kazi Fospero's older brother-in-law, Sam, ran a Geneva bootlegging house for a criminal organization from Rochester. Kazi and his twin brother helped bottle beer when they were 5 or 6 years old. In an interview, Kazi said, "Sam would make the beer in 5 huge 50-gallon crocks. He'd put warm water in there, malt, hops and barley or whatever, and some yeast, and we'd wait until the foam rose to the top. We bottled the beer the same day we made it, and it would get served that night and the next day in the bar upstairs." In the 1880s, John Lentz's saloon was in the corner of the Dove Block. There were 2 bars in this space in the early 2000s. Many restaurants, like Comesso's on North Genesee Street and Avenue E, had separate taproom entrances for the bar. Almost every hotel had a bar in it. The Hotel Seneca bar was popular with Hobart College students and locals. The Kirkwood Hotel on Exchange and Castle Streets had many names, and at one time it was a temperance hotel, a safe place for guests who didn't want to be around alcohol. Raymond's Hotel on the right and the Central Hotel on Exchange Street both had bars. Terry's Cocktail Lounge was in, but not part of, the Algonquin Hotel. The Seneca Street parking lot is here now. Dempsey's Bar and Grill opened during World War II to take advantage of increased traffic from Sampson Naval Training Base. In 1943, the Hoffman House became the Holiday Bar and Grill, a popular wartime spot for dancing and drinking. Pronti's Restaurant and Bar was in Torrey Park before and long after World War II, but benefited from more customers. Left to right are Ross Perry, owner Alex Bronte, and Kenny Bernstein. The present-day Beef and Brew on Main Street was Cooley's Grill for decades. This photo shows the interior in the early 1970s. The Venuti family owned a number of bars around Geneva. Joe Venuti owned Venuti's restaurant on Wadsworth Street, but everyone called it the Old Man's. Dominic Venuti owned the Twin Oaks near the corner of Pulteney and Hamilton Streets. It was a legendary bar for Hobart and William Smith College's students and locals alike. The colleges bought and raised the Oaks in 1986, but saved the sign and bring it out for the annual reunion bar tent. Venuti's restaurant on Route 14 at Cashong was owned by Frank Venuti. Known as Chi-Chi's, it was a popular spot halfway between Geneva and Penn Yan. In the 1950s, the tavern on the corner of Exchange and Lewis Streets was owned by Joe Venuti Jr. John Venuti owned Johnny's on Lake Street. The Hotel Exchange is still in business between Lake and Lewis Streets. Bruno's restaurant on North Genesee Street, which was also Club Domar and a few other names, was a popular place with American Can employees. The Cedar Inn opened in 1947 on Lenox Road. Large televisions and lottery tickets are about the only changes to the bar since then. The Little Brown Jug, or Round Jug, was on East North Street. By 1967, it had changed owners and was called Buzzy's Rendezvous. Gaetano Terranova, in the middle here with Bill Poland and Jimmy Devlin, owned Minette's just east of the city. Minette's became Club 5 and 20. Both restaurants specialized in Italian food. These are drink tokens from two bars near Border City Road and 5 and 20, Border Tavern and The Click. Pooter's Pub was at 106 Seneca Street. The AH on the building was from the previous business, Ardman House Gift Shop. Pooter's Pub later became Sonny's and is now Halsey's Restaurant. After World War II, Dempsey's became the Castle Grill and is now Trotta's Castle Lounge. Slattery's was in the Schnerl building on Seneca Street from 1969 to the mid-1980s, followed by the Rum Runner. Slattery's was known for live music and a huge beer selection. Sam's Bar and Grill on Tillman Street had neither a Sam nor a grill. Cosy Fospero owned it for decades, but never changed the sign. Anita Ma Carlson owned the Sideshow Bar on Exchange Street for almost 34 years until she passed away in August of 2019. The Super Soaker squirt gun was for people who tried to use fake IDs. 2 doors away from Sideshow was Gallagher's, another local institution. Red Dove Tavern on Castle Street was an early adopter of serving Finger Lakes and New York State beers rather than national brands. In 2014, Lake Drum Brewing was the first brewery in the city in 100 years. In 2019, it was joined by Twisted Rail Brewing Company on Exchange Street. There are 2 breweries in the town of Geneva, Gale on Route 14 south of the city and Weeby on Preemption Road.